Hi, I'm extremely excited to be here. I was just thinking about one of the first times I kind of spoke in front of anybody was like at a food demo, and people were taking shelter from the rain, and there was a stray dog and a couple of plastic bags, and there's like nearly 500 people here today, so that's a little bit overwhelming, but really exciting. I'm assuming you feel the same way I feel. I've never been here before, and it is genuinely so inspiring to listen to people talk about things that I've never heard before, or things that I've thought and I haven't said out loud. So yeah, I'm a bit overwhelmed to be asked to speak. So I'm going to use the laptop with a bit of help. I might do a bit of ad-libbing, but I think it's safer for your enjoyment that I have a bit of help. So what am I going to talk today about? I'm going to try to talk a little bit about mental health. I don't have any kind of PhD or a degree. Anything, barely finished school, but I have 16 years of being a witness of maybe seeing behaviours that didn't encourage a happy mind. I'm happy to say that I worked with some really fantastic, talented people. And I had some really hard days, but even after that, I would count myself lucky. I was lucky because I was born into a good family. I'm from Tala. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I have 2 sisters, Catherine and Sarah, and I got a brother, Anthony, and I've got 2 deadly parents. And then on top of that, I have the best friends, like really good, caring, supportive friends. And I believe those people were like safety nets for me. Now, I didn't tell Mum and Dad that much because obviously they would have hopped over on a plane and whipped me back. They would never have let me stay in kitchens if they knew really what I was around. But what I did talk to them about stuff, they were very supportive. And I think that was really good for my well-being and my mental health. I think the power of a sincere hug from someone who cares about you and some positive words can be so amazing when you've just had like the service from hell and it was all your fault and everybody hates you. And every chef here has experienced that, where it was your fault, or at least you thought it was your fault. And you know, I just think that the key to handling that is having somebody to listen to. And as a young chef, I think you do often feel unheard. I think I've gone too fast here. Sorry, I have to go back again. God's sake, Hannah. But as I said, in general, I would say I fared pretty well. I mean, yeah, of course I was burned by chefs, like, all the time. And I was shoved and I had food thrown in my face and plates thrown at my head and called every name. You know, the usual stuff. I would consider I fared pretty well because there was always somebody who had it so much worse, you know? And I did this, oh God, I did that wrong. I did the 7-day week, I did the 16 hours a day, I signed up with Gusto for the no holiday and the no sick days, and I still think right now I fared pretty well because I was happy and I had good mental health. But also, which I think helped me, is that when I was going through hard times, I didn't suffer in silence. You know, most Sundays I would buy my little call card and go down to a red phone box. I'd call my friends. They'd be in somebody's house. They would be telling me how they nearly killed themselves with drink, and I would tell them the kitchen's nearly killing me. And we'd laugh at each other's experiences, but they supported me. They kept telling me, you know, don't give up, you'll be great. And I'd tell them the worst stories in the world, and they thought, you know, you can do this. If you can do it, keep going, and that you're great. And then they tell me, you know, things that weren't true about how wonderful I was. And I think this really, really helped me. I'm so sorry, I'm not doing a very good job here. Support, oh gosh, silence is terrible. Okay, so what I really wanted to go back to is more of me as a witness. It's kind of really less talk about me as a chef and more as a witness. And I wanted to tell a story. But before I tell the story, actually, I had a great partner when I was training, and that if I hadn't have had him, I don't know what kind of chef I would have ended up being, because he understood everything I was going through, and he never told me to give up. Because he didn't want to give up, and when I was witnessing some behaviour that really just was not okay, I knew that because I was a junior chef, I couldn't change any of that. You know, what, you stand up to your chef, sure, you get fired. I was lucky to have this job. This was back in the day when there was, you know, you were lucky to be working in a Michelin star restaurant. So I went home to my boyfriend one night and I made an oath and I said, you know what, I can't change this now when I'm a junior chef. But one day, when I'm in charge, one day when I am the person who calls the shots, I will not allow a kitchen to be run like this. I will not let this happen. So back to what I witnessed. So I don't want to mention like the names of chefs and I don't want to mention the name of the restaurants because I actually don't think that's important to what I'm talking about today. I am going to mention, I guess, the victim, his name was Siddy. And Siddy was amazing. He was shorter than me, so he was unusually small. He was maybe a foot shorter than me and he had a disfigured face. He had a club foot. And he was the wrong colour for this chef, and he couldn't really speak English. But he was the best kitchen porter I've ever worked with in my life. He worked faster, harder. Well, you know, he dried the bowls. What kitchen porters dry the bowls? He dried the bowls. He was just brilliant. But one of the chefs took a very strong disliking for him, and used the fact that he didn't speak English against him. So he'd make a mockery of him every single day, at least 3 times a day, where he would ask him questions about his sexuality or whether he preferred to have sex with children or animals. And, you know, Siddy was aware he was dealing with a total a-hole. Like, he knew this guy was, you know, not good. But he would begrudgingly just kind of say yes or maybe because he didn't know what he was saying. And the truth is, Siddy just wanted to get back to work, you know? He just wanted to just get on that pot wash and do what he wanted to do. And the chef would fall around the floor laughing, and the other lads, some of the lads would laugh with him. This ate it away at me. Like, this caused more stress than I've ever experienced as a chef. Think of like the worst service or the worst day you've ever had and multiply it by 10 and I would feel this 3 times a day. You know, at the end of the shift, we'd often have like bags of puree left, like small piping bags of puree left. And this guy would go up to Siddy and pretend to ejaculate all over him, like making loud moan noises and laughing his heart out. And Siddy would just continue working. You see, I didn't mention this earlier, but when Siddy left, I found out where he worked and I was asking how he was, and he had a different name. I think Siddy was probably an illegal immigrant. Somebody who was just so desperate to be employed, was willing to take this type of abuse. So I broke my rule, you know, the pact about not getting involved because it was too hard to watch this on a daily basis. So I tried to distract the chef, or I tried to call Siddy away when I could see, you know, I'd throw the piping bags away, or now and again I would go, you know, hey, you know, this isn't cool, like, let's not do this. And I would get in a lot of trouble. I mean, I scrubbed a lot of stoves, I got a lot of silent treatment, and, you know, once the sous chef is ignoring you, sure, everybody's ignoring you. And that was very, very hard. But, you know, I couldn't help myself to witness this. It was really bad. And this man deserved respect. And he didn't get the respect he deserved in this kitchen. But like I said, when I found out about where he went later on, they were like, this guy is like a ferocious powerhouse. He's amazing. And everybody loved him. And that really did make me happy to think that he, you know, got away from that. The thing is, I think what made it so hard was that the kitchen was silent with their disagreement. So some of them didn't care, they were laughing. But lots of the chefs were very uncomfortable with what was happening. And they weren't brave enough to kind of go, no, that's not okay. Nelson Mandela said, this is a very famous quote, but in the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I couldn't stand up for Siddy alone. I needed more people to stand up with me. I didn't know how to ask them. But hopefully I'll be able to ask you today to maybe stand up against similar situations that might arise in your jobs. A bully is a person who uses strength and influence to harm and intimidate those who are weaker. That's really bad, right? Like the strong hurt the weak. For me, you know, I wish I spoke up more when I was younger. I really do. And I feel shame, and I guess I'm trying to cleanse myself a little bit today. But in our industry, we have a serious problem finding staff. And then once you find them, we have a big problem keeping them. The hardest chefs to actually keep are like the 18 to 24-year-olds, the most vulnerable ones, really. We lose these chefs. I don't think it's just because of the fast pace or the hours or the stress or the idea that their pals are off in Thailand or, we're losing these chefs because of drink and drugs as well. To days of them lying in bed, just getting bombed, not going out to meet people, not going out to make proper connections where they feel like they belong. Too many of these young chefs are turning to substance abuse now. The stuff that I've seen in my kitchen, would upset anybody. Any party animal would be upset with some of the stuff that I've seen with the young fellas in the kitchen. If you don't have a proper social infrastructure set up, you are a vulnerable person. I've witnessed chefs crying everywhere. I think every chef who's ever worked for me has cried and claimed I've made them cry, but they made themselves cry. But that's another conversation altogether. I've seen chefs, say, see you later, see you after the break, yeah, do you want a coffee? I bring coffee back, yeah. And then they never come back. And they never come back because they're too afraid to come back, because the environment was just so stressful and scary. It was much better to lose your jacket and your knives and whatever else you had there than actually go back and say, see you, stick it up your arse, I'm out of here. So there was this one German guy that I worked with. And he was amazing. I mean, he worked with us, I think, for 2 weeks. He was a brilliant chef, super chef. But you could tell when it would kick off, which it always did, you could see him go in on himself. He still performed and did a great job, but he's like, this is no way to behave, So he did one of the lunchtime goodbyes, and his girlfriend came back. His girlfriend came back, and she asked for his knives, and she was met with an awful lot of abuse, where they called her boyfriend every name under the sun, and her names. Anyway, she got what she came for, which was his knives, his belongings, I think there were shoes and everything there. It was crazy. And as she left, she told the kitchen what she thought of the kitchen. And I thought she was brave. I did. I thought she was amazing. But I was silent. I wasn't taking her side because I was afraid. Suicide is the biggest killer of young people, well, especially young men. It's the second biggest killer with young women. Being bullied is intimidating, it's traumatizing, it's hostile, it's bad for your mental health. You throw 60 to 80 hours in there, maybe a heavy night of drinking. We all get those self-hates. And often the chefs are not from the city, so they don't have any real friends. And now you have a cocktail for really bad mental health. So what do? We just bring the subject up as casually as you can in your restaurant. Talk about it. It's normal. It's really normal to be low. It's really normal to have self-doubt and feel a bit sad and feel a bit isolated. Be the person that your chefs will come and talk to. Listen to them. Let them cry. Like I mentioned, they all bloody cry. Let them cry and not be ashamed of it. What's wrong with crying? Sure, if you didn't have tear ducts, wouldn't you go blind or something? Encourage the comradeship, the team, that take care of each other. And if you witness a bit of bullying, clock it. Mention it so everybody can hear. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's like, that's not how we speak to each other here. Like, that's a really strong sentence. It's not aggressive. It's not negative. It's actually positive. It's not how we speak to people here. And then, if it's a more serious issue, we'll address it swiftly, professionally. Remove the aggressor from the situation. Give them a few minutes to calm down. And then discuss their actions. Ask them why they thought it was appropriate. Some good people do bad things. The bully mentality can be bred from school and then it's brought into the kitchen. Not all bullies are monsters. People who've been bullied are twice more likely to bully themselves. Not themselves, bully themselves, if that makes sense. I believe respect breeds respect, and bullying breeds bullying. But you can help shape these chefs into efficient, kind, hardworking chefs. And I think kind is a really important word. As chefs, we don't use that enough. If there's two things I would ever want to be known for, it's to be kind and to be strong. And that's what I believe every great chef should be. But it's up to you what you want to be known for. Thank you.